at Mid-Ohio.
It's been 10 years since Superbike roared to life in Central Ohio. But now we're back. In one of the most memorable seasons of all time, we find ourselves with our 4th different championship leader of the season. As tight as you like it, SDK makes a move for 2nd place, but now foils the plans of Cameron Beaubier, and here comes Josh Herron in a masterclass of racing. Josh Herron, on the back of a win at Laguna, now has a target on his back. Can Herron extend his lead in the championship, or will the other superstars foil the Ducati riders' plans? It's time to go racing right now. It's time for the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship. This round is Permco MotoAmerica Superbikes at Mid-Ohio. It's our 7th round of 9 in our 10th anniversary season here in 2024. And we're at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in Lexington, Ohio. Steel Commander Superbike race number 1 on deck on what is currently a very unusual day that has unfolded here in the last, say, hour and a half or so. Welcome to the broadcast. Welcome to Mid-Ohio. I'm Greg White, standing alongside 2-time national champ Jason Pridmore. Now, Jason, before we get into all the stuff we're normally going to talk about here on the broadcast, it's important to note that, maybe an hour ago, the skies opened up and has pushed our schedule around, but this is the first little bit that we've had of motorcycles on a wet racetrack.
Yeah, it literally rained for maybe, 5 minutes, but it was a big enough downpour where, as you say, Greg, it set our schedule back a little bit, and that's why right now, currently, we're in a practice situation for the Superbikes so they can go get some familiarization laps, as we have still have some damp patches out, but the sun is out and it's drying quickly.
So familiarization really is there because these riders didn't have that chance to ride before, but it's also an opportunity for riders to check out, do I do wet tires? Is it going to be dry enough where I could go slicks? And also keep in mind that this asphalt is new, and it's obviously been about 10 years. MotoAmerica as a series has never been here. So the last time that AMA Superbikes were here were all the way back in 2014. So totally different circumstances, and a lot of riders, this is their first trip to Mid-Ohio.
Yeah, there's a number of riders here in our paddock, like you say, that had been here, but there's a lot more that have not been here. And I think that when you look at what this session is going to be about, it's going to be slicks no matter what in the race. There's no question about this. But they had to do some drainage stuff. When we saw the rain come down, the MotoAmerica crews were out there because there was some puddling up. So they had to channel some of the water off the track and dig some trenches and things like that so that the water would channel. So there were some wet spots, but now it's dry. I think the biggest guy that we've got to look at is Bobby Fong. He had a big crash this morning. This little warm-up session for him is going to be perfect. Keep in mind, he is still in the championship hunt. He's led our championship. So for him, this is actually going to be a really good thing.
And there have been quite a few crashes here at Mid-Ohio this weekend, including on Thursday. Before the official weekend started, Thursday was a practice day because it is MotoAmerica's first time here. And unfortunately, superstar of the series, fan favorite Cameron Peterson, he crashed and injured himself. But the 3rd member of our broadcast team, Hannah Lopa, is currently with the South African.
Yeah, Greg, as you can see, Cam Peterson down here in street clothes, not out for track familiarization, will not be gridding up for this race. But let's hear it from you. What's going on?
Yeah, unfortunately, just had a pretty big crash on Thursday and got my ankle pretty good. So, and then, unfortunately, had a training incident 3 weeks ago, tore my left meniscus. So, just been a bit of a struggle so far, just moving around on the bike. And, unfortunate crash on Thursday, just, a little too eager too soon and lost front. And, just super unfortunate, and then had another little crash this morning, and unfortunately just not up to the challenge. It's pretty damn beat up, so we'll get reevaluated tomorrow and hopefully go racing tomorrow.
Really positive attitude from Cam Peterson, having some bad luck here so far in Ohio.
Yeah, and you can definitely hear it in his voice. You know, the Attack Performance Progressive Yamaha rider out of this one, Jason. But really unique perspective from your really saddle. You were actually his teammate on Thursday, and you got to do some laps around Mid-Ohio.
I did. I was lucky enough to be here to kind of come and look at the track and inspect it 8-9 months ago. And when I heard the idea that we were going to come back to Mid-Ohio, I was very excited about it. This was a place that I think many riders love coming to, and we knew the fan base that it would draw here at Mid-Ohio. Such a tremendous place. And so I wanted to lace him up and see what this track was like as well, smooth. And I thought it would be good for the broadcast as well. So I got some time around this place in a way that I've never got to see it. And it was a lot of fun. And being obviously Cam Peterson and Jake Gagne's teammate for the day, that was a lot of fun for me too, as I was lucky enough to ride an Attack Superbike around here. And you can see we had a perfect day for it here on Thursday.
Yeah, and this is the Insta360 shot. So Jake, tell us a little bit about this section of the racetrack.
Yeah, this is just coming up into the keyhole. And back in the day, for those of you that remember, this place had a lot of concrete patches that were all the way around the insides of the turns and things like that. We don't have that anymore. You know, it was a lot like riding MotoAmerica after they repaved that last year too. And getting a chance to come back to Mid-Ohio, there used to be a bridge right here. That's gone now. They've done a lot of works. They did some changes. There were things back in the day that we wanted as motorcycle riders to have some of the walls moved back. That had been done when we had got here. So for me, just getting a chance to see this place and getting a chance to ride it in its current form was a lot of fun, and it's a day I won't soon forget, especially being part of that team again and doing some stuff with Richard.
Yeah, it's really cool, that Insta360 look. And now here's Jason Bobby Fong that you talked about. I mean, an absolute write-off earlier today in qualifier number 2 for Bobby Fong and the Wrench Motorcycles Yamaha R1. So for Bobby Fong, although you get this 20-minute familiarization session, Jason, after this crash, you got to think they put this bike back together and put out a new one.
Very strange crash. You can see this bike launched up into the catch fence. Greg and I are literally in a building just to the left of this catch fence, and we saw that bike get launched, and Bobby didn't quite make it to the air fence, almost got there. It was good to see him be able to get up and be okay. It was a very strange crash, and when you go back and you watch it again, it was under acceleration. The front started to tuck on him, but it shows the strength of that team to put this bike back together and get him out. And I'm sure when they found out there was going to be a small little practice session prior to the start of this race, they were very excited to make sure that this bike was not only going to run, but make sure that anything that they needed to fix will get handled before the start of the race.
And riders are out on this racetrack during this 20-minute familiarization session. And so far, Jake Gagne has gone fastest at a 1:33.924, significantly off the pace that we have seen from these riders. There's a look at the number 1. Now, Jay, we've been gone for about a month's time, and the talk about Gagne was that he was going to go possibly get some surgery on this ailment that he's had with his right hand going numb. But it turns out that he went to the clinic where he was going to get some action done on this hand, and he decided not to go for the full surgery. So have you had a chance to talk to Jake in your time hanging out at the team to find out how he's doing?
I did, and getting to share that truck with him on Thursday, he gave me a lot of information. He's got a different route as far as getting some treatments done. He was very happy with how he felt on Thursday, and I mean, look, he's just had a very strange year, and he's still right in the middle of this championship. He's been able to finish these races. He's got a great team and a great bike, obviously, underneath him. When you talk about the lap times, Greg, we're about 10 seconds off what they qualified at. A high 23 is what they qualified at, I believe. I'll have you check that for me. I believe it was a 23.9 as pole. Yep. So they're about 10 seconds off. And the reason for that is this track, especially when it's brand new, when it rains like that, it does get very, you go back to like a green racetrack. The track's getting a lot of rubber and stuff put down on it, then it rains, kind of washes that away. Track becomes a little bit more slick. So we'll see in the next, well, they've only got about a minute and a half left as far as going around. And Greg, we've only had 9 riders complete full laps. So everybody's not out there taking full advantage of this, of these conditions. It looks dry, it looks fine. I can see a couple little dark patches where the moisture is still in the ground, but it's getting better. Good to see Richie Escalante back out there. I know Hannah's got a report on him, so we'll let her go with that.
Richie Escalante is certainly trying to maximize the amount of seat time, being his first weekend back since Road Atlanta, where he had a big crash, suffered a bad back injury where he fractured some vertebrae. He had a hand injury, an ankle injury. When I spoke to him, he was so happy to be back in the paddock and back on his Superbike this weekend. He said he's feeling about 90% physically overall. He hasn't been able to train being in a back brace for the last 3 months. He's had that off for about 2 weeks, so he's not feeling as strong and as fit as he normally is because he hasn't had the opportunity to train, but really positive attitude. I know the team and fans alike are happy to see Richie Escalante back in the saddle.
Yeah, and if you spend as much time in this paddock as we do, Richie Escalante is one of the most fit riders there. He's constantly working on it, JP. He's stretching, he's doing his exercises, he's running when he can, so it's that little extra percentage he doesn't have right now, and that's why we know that part of his goal is just to finish this race, to get some laps under his belt and to get back familiarization connection, I guess you could say, with the GSXR 1000 that he's racing.
Yeah, and it really helps Greg to come, even if you're not 100%, you come and you get a full weekend under your belt, and that'll give him things to think about before he goes to Dakota, and he'll go roll in Dakota with a lot more confidence. As we've seen Xavi Flores on his bike for the rounds that Richie's missed. So we missed Xavi, but we're so happy to see Richie Escalante back on the bike that he belongs on.
And on the Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzuki team, the lead rider this weekend, definitely in speed, is Brandon Posh, and he's been going really well during the course of the weekend. All right, so we're going to take a break as Josh Herron looks on to look at those lap times. We'll be back to Mid-Ohio.
Sticking with you here on MotoAmerica Live Plus for the behind-the-scenes extended coverage of the Steel Commander Superbike category in the 20-minute familiarization session that they were given after the rainstorm made ground here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. And you can see the #1 plate, Jake Gagne, still out there on the racetrack.
Yeah, and for Jake, we've talked about his arm struggles a lot, even though he got some work in between Laguna Seca. You know, they're about 5 seconds off, kind of similar to the rain. And, you know, if everybody's a couple seconds off the pace, it could make it a little bit easier for Jake.
Looking at the timing and scoring screen right now, you know, Jake is finishing up this lap, but only 9 riders posted a complete lap time. You can see the rest of the field. They went out, did a couple of sectors, and then came back in an out lap and right back into their pit area. Would you have done the same thing, Roger? Or with the rain that fell, would you want to know what the track was like when it's green?
I think I would have at least tried to do a lap, but everybody has their own plan, and maybe they get out there and they just, you know, as we heard Cam Peterson talk about, you don't want to feel the track where it's super sketchy. Let other people clean it. But I would have liked to get out there and maybe seen the way it is, because we're going to go racing, and you don't want to give up a lot of time early on in this race.
It was great to see Bobby Fong able to get out there and hear from him and know that he is feeling all right. That bike back together. You see Cameron Bobier sitting there. He will be our pole sitter once we do get the field out there onto the racetrack. We know it's going to be a quick start procedure. All of the pre-race ceremonies have been called off for today, trying to keep things moving along somewhat of the planned schedule for all of these great fans that have come out here this weekend. But Cameron Bobier will lead the field in the race today, as well as the race for tomorrow, as well as a great lap for him in qualifying.
Great lap in qualifying, and he has looked really strong. Thursday at the Dunlop tire test, he looked good. Friday, besides that small little easy crash he had, he seems like he's the guy that's got the target on his back going into this first race.
If you haven't been with us all season, Cameron Bobier sitting down in fifth in the championship point standings right now, looking to claw himself back. We're going to send it back over to Greg White and Jason Pridmore for Superbikes here at Mid-Ohio.
Steel Commander Superbike coverage at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course is brought to you by Permco, a leading manufacturer of high-pressure hydraulic gear, vane pumps and motors, flow dividers, intensifiers, and accessories. By Steel Commander Corp, a leading steel building manufacturer offering expertise, innovation, and dedication to quality. And by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
As we get closer to a race start, we wanted to refresh your memory here. Steel Commander Superbike in our 7th round. Our race #1 is on deck for a 16-lap affair. But let's take a look at those championship point standings, because we talked about who's leading the way. And after we went to WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, it is Josh Herron, the 2013 Steel Commander Superbike champ, who leads the way. 194 to Gagne's 179, only 15 points. Bobby Fong there at 23. Cameron Peterson, unfortunately, was in the conversation. Got to be sitting out at least this one. And then we have Cameron Bobier, JP.
Yeah, and you look back, Loris Bass is still in the hunt for this thing too. So these kind of races late in the season definitely ramp up the pressure a little bit as far as that goes. We still have 7 races left, 3 venues that we're going to be visiting. But when you have something like this can either really work for you or work against you.
Let's get back down to Hannah, who's got a little story on the #2 chasing the #1.
Well, Greg, as the championship winds down for the season, there's still a lot of points to be had and to be won for Josh Herron leading the points right now. The question is, you know, are you feeling the championship implications? Is there a sense of urgency? Is this something that you're consciously thinking about, even though we have 6 races left? And he said, of course. I'm thinking about it, and he's no stranger to being in this type of pressure and being at the front of a championship fight. And for Josh, he said a lot of different people want to tell him what he should do or what he shouldn't do or how he should play it. And he said, honestly, I'm just going to do the same thing I've always done. I know how to do my job, and I'm going to try to win this championship one race at a time.
And that's all you can do. And he's had so much experience doing it. He's been doing it for a very long time. And Josh Herrin definitely has the formula. But, Jay, talking about Josh Herrin, he really has come on in this second half of this season really strong, and he had an unbelievable WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca.
Yeah, that was a really impressive win for me, and I had all my friends back home said, man, you were really impressed by that, and I really was, because if you go back and you look at race 1 here, as he went up under Cam Peterson fired right back at him and turned it back up, but it was Cam Beaubier who actually would go on and win race 1, and it looked like it was going to kind of be the same thing in race 2. You see Beaubier leading. Josh got back into the fight here. He gets by Beaubier, and once this happened, he fought such a hard fight at the front to kind of keep Cam behind him, and really, you know, the points washed out between Cameron Beaubier and Josh Herrin, and I think everybody has a look. When you look at that point standings, Cam Beaubier is the guy that everybody's going to be a little bit concerned with. Herrin showed what he can do, and if you look at the full page here, Greg, and inside the numbers, you see what he's been doing this season.
Yeah, so entering that round, he was 4th in the championship. Pole vaulted himself to 1st. Bobby Fong, unfortunately, had a slip, and he's now down to 3rd. But if you look at the bottom two, is what you're talking about, Jay. Cameron Beaubier was in 7th and now up to 5th. So Josh Herrin, you wouldn't say he's in 100% control of this championship, but definitely he's got control of the championship in the way that he wants it. So Josh Herrin right now on a tear. And Jay, I've done the research, man. When you look at it, this guy, Cameron Beaubier, he's definitely getting faster, and he's really proven it. But, hey, have you ever thought to yourself, I would love to know more about MotoAmerica, get an inside scoop, an inside idea of how these racers live? Well, we got some good news for you, because coming up this winter, we got more.
It's a feeling like nothing else. To be on the podium, it's amazing.
I'm not really here to just get on podium anymore. I want to win. I feel like I'll be in the fight.
This long off season has really just lit the fire in me. You know, go win races and fight for the championship. When you get used to winning championships and races, it hurts losing more than you enjoy winning.
When I look at music, it's a form of meditation. It gives me something to hyperfixate on when I'm not racing.
Her competition trying to figure out a way around, but Yakov comes to the line, the checkered flag flies, and she wins!
I remember my first race and showing up to the track. My dad was like, do you really want to go out and do this?
I'll be bringing you segments every few weeks called KK's Corner.
Oh, there it goes. Bobby Fong on the Indian. He'll take the win.
A lot harder than it looks. We did the 90-day fiancé visa thing. I would fly to Washington once a month to visit her, and we had to meet at this park in between Canada and Washington. It was like a no man's land. It was like Switzerland.
What do you know about the wedding?
It's a Tuesday.
It's not a Tuesday, it's a Monday.
Ready, set, go.
I feel lucky and blessed every day that I wake up knowing this place is mine, and it's going to be pretty cool to see Brody grow up here too.
Beaubier pulls the trigger and holds on to win.
Choosing me as a rider is just insane.
I want more championships because I don't know how much longer I'm going to do this.
To be positive here, because I'm positive Bob these days, I'm excited to get rolling.
An all-new Pressure to Rise, coming this fall.
What a great look. It'll be inside of Champions. When we come back, we're going to get Steel Commander Superbike race number 1 underway. Don't go anywhere.
We're here on MotoAmerica Live Plus, and for all of the fans that have stuck out the weather, the inclement weather here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, we are getting closer and closer to the Steel Commander Superbike category going out for their race action. The race has been shortened down to 16 laps after the delays in the weather, and it's going to be a great race nonetheless, Roger.
Yeah, it's going to be a great race, and it's also going to be exciting to see. We've talked a lot this weekend about Sean Dillon Kelly, how fast he's been, consistent. Showed up this weekend kind of on the same level playing field as everybody else. They haven't been here. They show up with no data, just like he's had to show up every race and also have that test. And it's proven this weekend. He's been top 3 in every session.
You can see all the riders were on their grid position after the sliding lap. This is now the warm-up lap. We have some information that has just come in from Dunlop in terms of tire choices that have been made by all of these riders. If you weren't with us this morning in the qualifying session, we talked about the fact that after that tire test that was here on Thursday, Dunlop went back and realized that they might need a harder tire option. So they brought out another R8 tire spec that the riders were able to go out on this morning for the very first time. And looking at the grid, it looks like everybody has chosen that R8 as their rear tire, but we have a lot of differences in terms of the front tires between the various options.
Yeah, and that just really comes down to feel for the riders. Some guys like a little softer front tire, some guys like a little bit of a harder front tire. You don't wear those out as much as you do the rear tire, so it basically just comes down to comfort, especially if it will stay in for the whole race. So I'm sure this guy's pounded out a lot of laps to make sure that the front tire that they like will be ready for the race.
You talked about Sean Dillon Kelly on that number 40 Tyler Cycle BMW. He's starting on the front row after qualifying 3rd, and when he went out on that R8 this morning, he was impressive, and he was able to better his time each and every time around the circuit.
Yeah, he did a 10-lap run, and every lap was within a couple tenths, and that's going to be huge. It's going to be a little bit of an unknown with the rain, and the track's going to be a little bit green. I think those first couple laps, you'll see some guys charging really hard to make up spots and taking a lot of risk, and some guys who's going to want to try to let the race play out.
Before we send it back over to Greg and Jason and we get ready for this race, Roger, think about championship. We have 7 races remaining when you take into account the 16 laps, so we're going to watch here. Who has the most to lose?
I would say Josh Herron with the 15-point lead. He's in a really tough spot with the track being as green as it is. And Cam Beaubier, he's in a stressful place. He needs to win. If he wants to close down the points, Cam Beaubier has to win.
See if he can get his 5th win of the season. The riders all back in their grid positions. You can see the starter at the head. We're going to go back next door to Greg and Jason.
Start of the race for Steel Commander Superbike race number 1. Cameron Beaubier on pole, and he doesn't get a good launch to number 6, but it looks like it's going to be Sean Dillon Kelly might lead the way. No, it's going to be Josh Herron on the Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati. So Herron leads the way.
What an absolutely great start, and his teammate Loris Bass slots in right behind him for Herron. Coming from that second row, got a tremendous jump. As you said, Greg, our pole sitter Cameron Beaubier did not get away well there, and Herron's going to jump all over that as a Ducati 1-2 as they come out of the keyhole for the first time. You see JD Beach and Gagne are also through on Beaubier. So looking back, it looks like Beaubier could be back as far as 6th or 7th, as Posh also is through.
Yeah, so for Cameron Beaubier, obviously he got to the box, Jay, and I noticed that it looked like the bike was settling down a little bit, and perhaps he thought he may have moved and wanted to make sure that he didn't. But either way, it's the teammates on these Ducati Panigale V4Rs and your championship points leader setting the pace. Boy, Herron, we talk about how good he is, the feel that he has on the motorcycle, and after we've had some rain showers, we had a huge one overnight that really cleaned this racetrack off, all the rubber, and we have a rider down, Brandon Posh, on the Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzuki.
And that, Greg, looks like it could be a off-throttle high side. That's where that normally happens, as you see JD Beach is taking advantage of the misfortune of Brandon Posh. He was able to get by Sean Dillon Kelly, who I'm assuming probably had to check up. So for the 95 JD Beach, this is a good sign. We're not going to see it from this angle right here on the... You look over and there's Posh. So I almost promise you, by the way that accident happened, that's going to be the rear end stepping around on him there. And that's what happens, Greg.
Whoa.
The track's a little bit green. Somebody's gone off. Yeah, on the left. Was that Gagne? Didn't quite see who that was. It was Jake Gagne. And now he gets back on in the middle of the keyhole.
Boy,
Man.
that grass is wet too, Jay, so
Yes.
it's not like he had any available traction running those slick Dunlop tires. So Gagne heads up by all the riders around him for him to get back on the racetrack. Another opportunity, like a devastating for the points championship too for Gagne if he's not able to make up positions. What a day we're having after a big rainstorm just a couple hours ago. And boy, Herrin and Baz have decided that it's their time to get after it and go. JD Beach was in third across the line. Then Jake Gagne, who's now slipped back. Sean Dillon Kelly right there in the mix.
Gillum is right behind Beaubier right now. So here you go. Here's Gagne. He's going to lose the front probably, or he just almost got into the back of JD. He's going to run off. He's in the grass now. Keep in mind, Greg, the grass is soaking wet. He probably doesn't want to use a lot of brake. It pulls. Look, all those riders saw Gagne go off there. They all knew he was going to be coming back on as we have another big crash. It's Escalante who crashes in the second to last corner. So both M4 X-Star Vision Wheel bikes are down early in this race for Escalante. It's exactly what he didn't need.
And he looks a little bit baffled. We'll see if we can get a look at it here. There's Beaubier, the 669. Oh, he tucked the front.
Just lost the front, didn't he, Greg? You're exactly right. You could see it almost looked like the front just locked up on him, and it threw his body off the inside of the bike. And he's trying to get that bike picked up. But the problem is when the grass is wet, the bike wants to move a lot. These guys out front, Greg, 26.6, 26.5. There's some 2 seconds a lap quicker right now than the others. So for Baz, this is ideal. He's following his teammate. Josh Herrin is setting the pace. JD Beach, you can see him coming into your picture in the background in third. These two guys a lot, don't we? We see them a lot, Greg. You and I riding around together, working together as a team. The nucleus of that team seems really, really well. These guys get along good as well. So they're out there like it's a practice or a qualifying session currently.
Yeah, so looking at the Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducatis. Baz right now having a good run at it, Hannah.
Greggy is, and Jason, to your point, they have been working together really well, and Baz told me as much. He said he was surprised he got up to speed so quickly here, but mentioned that part of it was large in part to the fact that Josh gave him a tow, let him follow him around so that he could kind of find the line. He said it was easy to settle into a good pace, but as he tries to find tenths now, we start seeing himself making mistakes, so trying to stay clean and focused. But Baz is really wanting to go for the win, and I haven't heard anything at this point in this season about team order. You know, Josh is going to do everything he can to win, but with Baz being so close, he definitely also wants to get his first win for that team.
All right, Jay, we talk about, Anna just mentioned team orders. Tell us, what does that mean? What she's talking about?
Team orders is basically, hey, our teammates leading the championship here, and if you're going to make a pass on them, it's got to be ultra clean, and if you think you can get away and make an ultra clean pass, that might be okay. If not, we sure could use the help there with you getting yourself wedged in between Herrin and whoever might be his competitors and take those points away from them. So right now, for Herrin, he's got the perfect case scenario with his teammate following, and I don't think, Greg, that Loris is going to do anything silly.
Fans of MotoAmerica can pick their favorite riders for a chance to win money, available on your favorite sportsbook and daily fantasy sites like DraftKings and Underdog Fantasy. Visit nxtbets.com/playma for exclusive sign-up bonuses for new players and receive bonus cash. Available in legal states. Check nxtbets.com/playma to see where you can play in your state.
So when you look at this right now, what I'm looking at more than anything is that Loris Baz is going to see almost +7 on his board. He's going to know that there's no pressure coming from behind. So he's going to keep all eyes forward, continue to follow his teammate, because the last lap by, Herrin went 25.8. So in this one here, 25.7. So both riders are in that minute 25, and you can see that front straightaway, as small as it is, there's not a single person behind him. And when you do see that place in third, it's going to be JD Beach. He's at a 27.1. He's some 7.6 seconds back, but the number I'm looking at is Cameron Beaubier. Greg, he's 9.2 seconds back of the leader. Here's JD Beach putting in a tremendous run right now on that Tyler cycle. He's got his teammate directly behind him. There's Beaubier, and there's Hayden Gillum. Great to see a Honda there, as we've talked about this year. Top 5 right now for Hayden Gillum. So right now, Beaubier is just trying to chip away, Hannah.
And chasing down JD Beach, and I talked to JD. He has not had a break since Laguna Seca, so he filled in for his former flat track team and raced the last 2 weekends, won both of those flat track races. So it's safe to say JD Beach is carrying some good momentum and some good luck, some confidence into this race, fighting for a podium position right now.
Yeah, and for JD Beach, winning American flat track, he ticked off one of the boxes he hadn't yet, Jay, at a half-mile race too. So for JD Beach to do the Grand Slam, all he needs is a mile to finish it off. But he's back focused here at Tyler Cycles BMW on road racing. but he has not had a great season, coming off of a fill-in ride last year where he won a race on a Yamaha. But how about this guy? We're looking at Hayden Gillum. Right now, the Honda rider is 5th for the number 69. He's just there. He is, the number 69, Hayden Gillum. Very interesting, Jason. This is the first outing for the 69 and his team on the Real Steel Motorsports machine on the 2024 Honda CBR 1000 RR-R. And you can tell by the different aerodynamics you have on the wings on the front of the bike. That's the easiest way to tell. And for Hayden Gillum, Jay, we talked about the distinction between the 23 to the 24. There's a little bit of a throttle body change, a little bit of the way it comes off the corner. And the thing that Hayden Gillum said is that what he loses off the corner on a very stock 1000 spec machine, not a Superbike spec machine, that he's able to lose less ground to the full-blown Superbikes that we see in front of him.
Well, and you think about it right now, with Beaubier catching his teammate J.D. Beach, there's an interaction between these two. Hayden will be there, and he is losing out quite a bit. As I look at even the top speeds on the back straightaways, J.D. Beach and Beaubier identical, 179 mile an hour. For Hayden Gillum, it was 170, and even SDK, who is behind Gillum by 6 seconds, went 180. So Hayden's given up some 10 mile an hour on the straights, and it just goes to show what his team has given him. He's got a bike that's obviously very nimble, handles well, which is going to be great at this Mid-Ohio course. So Gillum right now running top 5. As you see Beaubier continuing to close down on J.D. Beach.
This is the battle for third. There is your 5th place rider, Hayden Gillum. And of course, we talked about the contingency plan that American Honda put forth in MotoAmerica Championship. And it's quite a bit of money to finish this high up in the Superbike class if Hayden Gillum's able to bring it home in 5th place. But for Cameron Beaubier, he's been fast all weekend. He hasn't had the perfect weekend. He had a little get off.
You can see the difference in the two bikes there too. You see how much JD's bike was moving around over those very few bumps that we have here at Mid-Ohio. Turn 1 was the only place they hadn't repaved because they had just done that not long ago. There's a couple bumps there, and JD's bike didn't go over them quite as well as Cameron. So Beaubier is going to do his best to get in the draft of the 95 right now down the back straightaway and try to do something with JD when they get down here into this braking zone. I don't think he's close enough right now. JD's strong on the brakes as they get down there into turn 6. So Beaubier is going to have to find another place. And this, Greg, again, where all these riders have been riding on a certain part of the track is where the rubber's going to start to get laid back down after the shower that we had this morning. So even though it's dry, you still got to be a little bit cautious where you choose to make that pass. So that's what we'll keep an eye on the bottom right-hand side of your screen there as they continue to circulate together. This on the left-hand side is them just going through the keyhole, getting started in the middle of that.
So last time back on the back straightaway, Jay, 182.4 in the draft for Cameron Beaubier to J.D. Beach's 180.8 mile an hour. So the draft worth about 1.5 miles, 1.5 miles per hour for the number 6.
Yeah, and you can really start to feel that once you get to that kink. That's the hardest part about drafting down that back straightaway is the kink, and this is where we saw Beaubier's bike working a little bit better than JD's, and again, you can see JD's bike moving around quite a bit. That'll be something that the team is watching as well. They'll try to give JD something that he can work with a little bit better tomorrow, maybe there on the exit of turn 1. Cameron's got to just really make sure that he gets out of this corner on the back of JD Beach so that he can utilize that draft and really just get close enough to where he can pull up alongside of him. And you can see here he's trying to go the long way around. He'll probably turn that back up underneath JD as you see him try to do that now. And JD pretty strong. Beaubier is going to go and get just underneath him as they go down into turn 6. Good pass.
Boy, and of course, feeling out those conditions. Up ahead of these riders by 11 seconds is Josh Herron, who goes 125.447, fastest lap of the race so far. He's got about a 0.7 of a second gap, now 0.9 of a second over his teammate Loris Baz. That extends to 1 second. So Herron right now just continues to push the issue. But Beaubier up into third place at the moment. Hannah.
And Greg, we've seen him at the top of the time charts all weekend long. I talked to him for an injury update. That heel that has been broken. He said the last 3 weeks to just be home and rest and train after Laguna have been really crucial for him. He said physically he's feeling better than Laguna. While he's not 100%, he can ride at 100%. And he said he's just trying to maximize points here. With the season winding down, he's taking it race by race.
Yeah, that's really all he can do. I mean, technically he's in this championship hunt because after this race, we have 6 races remaining in the season. And of course, 25 points is the maximum points you can earn for the #1 spot. So with Josh Herrin and Josh's teammate Loris Baz putting himself in between Herrin and Beaubier, Josh Herrin on the entire field is going to continue to stretch his championship lead in what has been a very interesting and strange day. But I can't say enough about the riders out front, Herrin and Baz, JP. The fact that they just gritted their teeth on the first lap and took all the risk.
Yeah.
And Herrin continues to go faster, a 1:25.436 now for the fastest lap of the race for the #2 out front, as we continue to look at the number 69 of Hayden Gillum, who's here this weekend doing double duty as usual.
Yeah, and we've seen Hayden run 3 different classes this year. On the weekends, he's only committed to 2 each weekend. So for this weekend, he does not have that stock 1,000 that he's got to run as a race this weekend. So again, this is some good testing for him and that team. He's continuing to keep these guys honest just up here in front of him. But you know, right now, this race for 3rd is basically what it's going to be. The 2 Ducatis have checked out, and you can see Herrin has opened up that gap. And I think Hannah brought up a really good point at the beginning of our show, talking about Herrin getting a lot of advice from people and this and that. He doesn't really need it, Greg. He's come into his own. You can tell how happy he is at the track. He's got a great team. He keeps on telling us how happy he is with his team, his bike, his teammate, everything else. And when you're in that frame of mind, it's really easy for you to go out and do your job. There's not any other thing that you have to think about other than just trying to do your job. Now, the guy in second, his teammate, has never won a race here in America. He's hungry to do so. But again, I don't think he's going to take any big unnecessary chances. If he could get to the back of Herrin, I don't think you'd see Loris Baz do anything to really disrupt what Herrin has been doing this year and putting this team in front of the championship.
And when you look at Josh Herrin and you look at the beginning of the season, Jason, it was the first 6 races, and Herrin had only scored 1 podium. And we were all kind of scratching our heads and a little baffled because the Ducati was so strong at the end of the season. But in talking with the team this weekend about that slow start to the season, they wanted me to keep in mind that the evolution of this Ducati during the course of the season, and even from last season to this season, is a constant moving target. They get updates as they're available from Ducati Corsa over in Italy. They change out swing arms and frames. They're updating the electronics. So it is taking a little bit of time, especially for this rider, number 76, Loris Baz, who came from a BMW last year, back onto Ducati this year to really find their footing, get a really good baseline setting, and get both these riders super comfortable. And now there's been plenty of time in the season for the number 2, Josh Herrin, to do it. And he is leading this championship. And right now, with 6 laps to go, he has a good chance of extending that championship lead. But looking at Loris Baz, the Frenchman coming over here, he is so desperate for a win in
Yeah.
MotoAmerica, right? And it's that close right now. He can see it that close.
Yeah, it is that close, Greg. And for Loris, he wants to win. There's no question about that. I was going to just say, there's some other good rides going on, and just like that, our guys put us back to this ride. Benjamin Smith and Ashton Yates right now running 7th and 8th. For Benjamin Smith, it's the best I've seen him run in our Superbike class. Obviously, he's going to have his hands full with Ashton Yates. Just for perspective, these guys are ahead of Bobby Fong. They're ahead of Jake Gagne, who are both back there in 9th and 10th. So for these 2 guys who are regulars in our stock 1,000 class, they're doing a really nice job at putting themselves in the shop window, and I would hope that we would get to see these guys on some real competitive Superbikes sometime in the near future. So this is a really nice ride from Benjamin and from Ashton.
Yeah, and both these riders coming up through the system in MotoAmerica, Junior Cup, and then moving up. So if you're not familiar with how MotoAmerica does it, basically it's pretty simple. Our Junior Cup category, this is our final year of that, starts, you can be 14 years old. Then we move up to Twins Cup at 15, Supersport at 16, Stock 1000 at 17 minimum age, and of course this one, the Steel Commander Superbike class, the minimum age is 18 years old. And both these riders coming up through the ranks, that's designed specifically to create world champions here from the United States, as Ashton Yates gets a little bit out of shape on acceleration on the 27. That's a Jones Honda. That's a CBR 1000 RSP as well.
Now you got to keep in mind, Bobby Fong is behind him. He's still a championship guy. These are important points, and he just went almost 2 seconds. Actually, he did go 2 seconds quicker than the 2 men in front of him. So Bobby Fong right now in 9th. He still has 7th place in his sights. This guy here, as we said and documented before the start of our race, he had a big off this morning, and that Wrench Motorcycles team did a really nice job of getting the motorcycle back underneath him so that he could feel these conditions out, get himself back out there, but every point now counts, Greg. Every point you get is a big one, and Bobby Fong needs to get by both of these riders and get himself a few more points.
So Benjamin Smith on that Flow 4 Law Racing Yamaha R1 has got a lot of pressure from the 27 in Ashton Yates, but here comes Wrench Motorcycles Yamaha R1 rider Bobby Fong. He was your championship points leader at 2 times during this unbelievable Steel Commander Superbike season. And Fong in the last couple of events hasn't had his way, but he's going to make a pass, not this time.
Yeah,
you really got to pick and choose your passing spots here in Mid-Ohio, don't you?
You do, and he can be a little bit patient. He knows what he's up against there. He's got 2 stock 1,000 bikes ahead of him. That R1 that he's on should be able to outperform both these bikes a little bit as a super bike that it is. And so for Bobby, he could kind of take his time getting through on Ashton, although he's having to look up the inside of turn 1. That door gets closed. But by the time these guys get down the back straightaway, you know, I think Bobby's going to be able to at least get past Ashton and then take his time with Benjamin as well.
So as we continue to watch this battle for 7th place, just want to keep you updated on Josh Herron goes fastest lap of the race again. Fong forces it, pushes the issue. That's going to, or sorry, Ashton does.
Yes.
Ashton forces his way through. He can hear Bobby Fong behind him, and he says, I don't want to deal with this any longer. But here comes the stock 1,000 versus a full-blown Superbike down the back straightaway, and Bobby Fong will get it.
That worked out perfect for Bobby, didn't it? Yeah, Ashton kind of moved Benjamin out of the way, and then Bobby was able to draft. You're going to see here, Benjamin gets into the keyhole, lets that R1 run out a little bit, but that Honda's carving, and he's able to just slide up the inside of Benjamin, opens the door for Bobby. Bobby's able to get a good run out of the keyhole and go by Ashton down the back straightaway. A little 2 for 1.
So Josh Herron's already been by the stripe. Now there'll be 3 laps to go. It's the first time in a long time that Herron hasn't set the fastest lap of the race. Fastest lap of the race, 2 laps to go to 25.1. He goes 25.3. And Jason, with all the rain and everything that we've had, that's only 1 second off of what Herron qualified at. So Josh Herron has proven to everybody on this racetrack that the grip level is fine.
Yeah, it's really good. And something may have happened while we were watching some of these other battles, because we saw Babs was only 1.1 back, and then it's just skyrocketed to 3.7. So maybe Loris made a mistake in one of those laps. But to your point, Herron that last time by was a full second ahead. Now, Jake Gagne a little bit further back. This is going to be a disappointment for Jake probably. He's running 10th right now. Best lap time of a 27.5. So we saw him run off the track a little bit earlier, got himself into the grass, and but he's right now behind Benjamin Smith by 5.8 seconds. And I just don't think he's going to run into, he's going to have enough laps left to try to catch him. As you see, Ezra Bobier and Danilo Lewis back there as well.
And Ezra Bobier last time by was 0.4 of a second quicker than the number 1. Oh, no, Loris Baz down.
Oh, that is bad for Loris Baz. He's fallen, trying to figure out where that is.
What a heartbreaker.
Oh, man, he has such a big lead.
He had 12.8 seconds over Cameron Bobier right before. Oh, so he's trying to dig himself out.
The front brake is locked up. The front brake's locked up, so it's not allowing him to move. So there's something going on with the front brake. These corner workers should see that, because the front brake's not moving, and it's liable. Yeah, you can see the thing is locked.
Yeah, so he's trying to get it going. Oh, so he's able to move the bar in a position that at least he's able to get it rolling.
Oh, that is
Hopefully
such a bummer.
It won't turn and lock up on him again. So for Baz, what a disappointment for him. He had such a good
still
run.
happening there.
Yeah, I just hope it doesn't snap on him.
Yeah, something bad's happening. So that is such a shame. I mean, especially for Loris and this team. And it's a big break for Cameron Bobier.
Massive.
Big break.
Yep, yeah. The difference, of course, is going to be 4 points, meaning that for Cameron Bobier, it's going to be 20 points instead of 16 if he can hold on to it as the team reacts to what happened. Boy, they were in a perfect position to go 1-2 on the podium, but also
there goes his teammate, Greg.
Yeah, so Herron knows what's going on now. It's the first time he's seen Baz all race long in the Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati. And when Josh finds out what happened,
he's going to be just as bummed.
He definitely
he's going to be just as bummed. He's got a 17-second lead. Does Josh Herron now. I mean, he's come across. This is the final lap. This guy has ridden absolutely perfect again. Not put a wheel wrong, Greg, and he's just gained from that momentum that he had at Laguna Seca, and he is just moving forward. And, for Herron, He took the bull by the horns from the start, as you said, those first laps.
Yep.
And this is why this guy doesn't need anybody telling him exactly what he's doing. He just needs to keep doing what he's doing and just keep racking up these points.
Right tire choice, running the hardest compound tire, rear tire that Dunlop has available, the R8 tire. And Herrin gets off to a start. He got a good one. He put his head down. He set the pace. He showed everyone what grip was available here at Mid-Ohio. He continuously eked his way into quicker and quicker lap times until 2 laps ago, where he finally started back her down. 25-1, fastest lap of the race. And when he took the white flag, Jay, it was 26-9. So Herrin is doing Herrin things. And can you believe the opportunity that Josh Herrin has in front of him in the record books, the 2013 champion, to be able to come back and put himself in a position to possibly win this championship in 2024. That would be a record, Jay. Most distance between his first championship and his latest championship, or last championship is the way you look at it. I mean, this 34-year-old from California has put his stamp on the championship and takes the win. It's Steel Commander, race number 1 in the Superbike class.
Oh, Baz again, is it?
Yeah, it's Baz again.
Yeah, there was something wrong with that bike, obviously, so.
That front brake could have locked up, or basically couldn't continue, just had to drop the bike. Either way, Tyler Cycles, BMW, Cameron Beaubier will come across the stripe, 18.8 seconds back.
Good day.
And JD Beach able to stand on the podium again. And that is a massive relief after the road racing season he has had. And Josh Herrin, I cannot wait to hear this interview. That is an emotional win for the 34-year-old. He grabbed the bull by the horns, and we get to talk to him about it when we come back.
We are back with you here on MotoAmerica Live Plus. I'm Jamie Howe, joined by Roger Hayden. And Roger, watching that race unfold, Josh Herrin never made a mistake. You see him there getting emotional on this cool-down lap.
Yeah, never made a mistake. And I mean, I mentioned before the race, he had the most to lose with the track, not knowing the conditions. But he went out there and put his head down right off the start. And just, if you're going to win the title, it's going to come through Josh this year, and he's proved that, and I really like the way he's doing it. He's not taking it easy. He's not just, trying to finish the race because he has a points lead and protect it. He's going out there, and he's forcing the issue every single race. And Josh has won a lot of races this year, a lot of different ways. He's checked out. He's won battles. He's won all kinds of different racetracks, and he's always been a super talent, but everything that Josh has been working on his whole career has came together this season.
His 14th win here in AMA competition. It is his 4th win of this 2024 season as he's looking for the championship. And with that win today, he now extends his points lead going into tomorrow by over a race win. And
that's huge. And now the pressure is really off Josh. He doesn't have to worry about it as much. If he has a crash, he still has the points lead. So now, it relieves a little bit of the pressure. He doesn't have to worry as much about getting tied. And as Josh mentions, he's just going to do what he's doing. He has a lot of people trying to tell him how he should ride and what he should do, and he's just going to go out and do what Josh does, and it's working.
It all really started for him today with that start that he was able to get, starting from the second row after the 2 sessions of qualifying. He lined up 4th right behind our pole sitter, Cameron Beaubier. Cameron Beaubier did not have the best of starts that he needed. Josh was able to get around him, and then once he was leading this race, he never made a mistake.
Josh just went for it right away. He wasn't checking out the track. When the lights went out, he was more aggressive, and he wanted it more, and it showed. To go out there and win by almost 19 seconds in a Superbike race is pretty incredible. Cam Beaubier had a rough start, but for most of the race, Josh and his teammate was 2 seconds quicker than the rest of the pack, and that's just pretty incredible.
I'm looking at the margin of victories over the course of the rest of this season. It's 18.8 seconds Josh won by today. That margin of victory by far the largest of the season so far. The one before that was also when Josh Herrin won back in the second race at MotoAmerica over Bobby Fong. That was only a 9-second victory. So this is a huge domination for him today. You can see us overcome with that emotion.
Yeah, and just winning a Superbike race. And for Josh, a lot of pressure on him right now, with being Ducati and winning the championship and the title, and he's wearing it well.
Back-to-back victories for Josh Herrin. Let's send it back over to Greg and Jason.
Steel Commander Superbike coverage at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course is brought to you by Permco, a leading manufacturer of high-pressure hydraulic gear, vane pumps and motors, flow dividers, intensifiers, and accessories.
Here's a look at the results for Steel Commander Superbike race number 1 from Mid-Ohio. Josh Herron absolutely putting it down. 18.8 second win over Cameron Beaubier. JD Beach on the podium. Hayden Gillum in 4th. He'll enjoy that Honda check. Sean Dillon-Kelly. Let's go down to Herron, who took all the risk and gets all the reward.
A lot going on down here. Just a congratulations being exchanged with his team. But a dominant performance once again for Josh Herron. Josh, you got one hand on that championship trophy. Tell us how you got the job done.
I'm speechless right now. It's I don't know what to say. That was one of the most emotional victories I've ever had. Honestly, is I don't know what to say. Thank you to the entire Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati team. B4R was amazing. I don't know what to say. Love you, Griffin. Love you, Rachel. Thank you, everybody.
Big congratulations to Josh Herron. Moving on over, second place today for Cameron Beaubier. Cam, the race didn't quite start how you had hoped. You had your work cut out for you there, but you were able to race your way to the podium. Tell us how you did it.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't get a very good start. We having a little electronic issue off the start, but then my bike started working after that. I was struggling pretty bad with rear grip. There at the beginning of the race, I was sliding all around, and man, Josh and Baz were just gone. But hats off to my Tyler's BMW crew. They've been working their butts off. It's been a lot of fun with them this year. It's amazing having JD up here on the podium, with us, 2-3 on the day. So yeah, hats off to all the fans for coming out. Bell, Alpine Stars, Amanda Buffer, keep me safe. See you tomorrow.
And third place to Cameron's teammate, JD Beach. JD, kind of a tough start to the day, tough start to the morning. Did you ever think that you would end up here by the end of it?
It's been a tough season. I put the team through hell, got them out of there, put them back in there. It's been rough, but it's been just something I keep working for. Hayden's been getting all the glory, bringing the kids up. I finally got to bring my niece up here. And, this is just awesome. I got to thank my whole Tyler's team. They've been working so hard, and man, it feels good.
Big congratulations to Tyler's second and third, with Josh Herron taking the top spot.
What a couple of weeks for JD Beach, but all eyes are focused on this guy. An emotional win for Herron. He deserves it. We can't wait to continue our coverage here from Mid-Ohio.
Staying with you here on MotoAmerica Live Plus as the celebrations continue for Josh Herron and the Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati team, as we're going to wait for these riders to be able to get up onto the stage. We saw the emotion in his body language on the cool-down lap, Roger, but then seeing it firsthand there in the podium area as well. Why is it that some wins mean more than others?
It's just whatever you're going through, or you go back to a place that has a lot of history, and I think also the stress of leading a championship and being in that battle, and these riders are humans too. They go through things in life, and things come up. But for Josh, just able to be here and get that win, and even on the cool down lap, as you mentioned, just looked like how much this day meant to him. And man, what an incredible ride. And we see the guy, JD Beach. It's awesome for JD to end up on the podium. If anybody needed a good result, it's been JD. He's struggled this year with confidence, and hopefully this is the race that gets him going back toward the front each weekend.
Confidence and comfort was the way you put it earlier in the weekend, and this has been anything but a comfortable day for all of these riders with all of the unknown of that weather that came through earlier this afternoon. You see Josh Herron now at the top step of the podium, able to hold those trophies high for JD Beach, his first podium since back at the second race at Road America, his second one of the season. And then Cameron Beaubier, he knows he needs to accumulate all of these points, and being able to take home 20 of them here in the first race this weekend, that's pretty big.
Yeah, pretty big. And for Cam, he made up a lot of points on Jake Gagne and also Cam Peterson. He lost some points to Josh, but he made up points on the rest of the crew, and I think that's all he could ask for with the weather like that. That's just with racing. You just never know what's going to happen with the practices and qualifiers. It looks like Cam Beaubier is going to win this race, or at least be fighting for the win. Mother Nature comes in, the rain happens, and we get a totally different race than we expected.
One of the riders that you don't see there inside of the top 3, but definitely worth mentioning, is Hayden Gillum, able to finish this race 4th on that number 69 Honda, but that is a stock 1000 spec motorcycle. That's part of the Superbike Cup category, and he was able to finish ahead of full-on Superbikes.
Yeah, and to be in the top 5, and he was actually catching Cam Beaubier and JD Beach there in the beginning. I bet with a little less electronics, he probably used his tires up a little bit more, trying to stay with the Superbikes. Ran out of grip there toward the end, but Ashton Yates and Benjamin Smith, 2 other riders on the stock 1000, 7th and 8th. And Ezra Beaubier, with the top 10.
Loris Baz, who we saw running in 2nd for so long, that was heartbreak there with just 2 laps to go as he was not able to finish this race. He was down in the 125s. Other riders that also on that low mark, Josh Herring, Cameron Beaubier. Lots of stories still to tell. Let's go back over to Greg and Jason.
Steel Commander Superbike coverage at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course is brought to you by Permco, a leading manufacturer of high-pressure hydraulic gear, vane pumps and motors, flow dividers, intensifiers, and accessories. By Steel Commander Corp, a leading steel building manufacturer offering expertise, innovation, and dedication to quality. And by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
Back at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in Lexington, Ohio. First time back in 10 years, and first time MotoAmerica as a championship has been here. And that was some race as riders get to celebrate on the podium. And boy, Jason, you've known Josh Herring a long time, so have I. This is not the perfect conditions for what he wanted to do. He just grit his teeth and got the job done. And here's the reward. Now the championship has Herring at 219 and Gagne 33 points back. Bobby Fong 38 points back. Wow, what a turn we've had in one race, Jay.
Unbelievable. But look, the bike handling skills that this guy possesses are incredible. I've said it before when we've talked about him, and those kind of conditions, we heard him say in another soundbite just now that these are the kind of conditions that he's super nervous in. He almost doesn't want to race, feels sick almost, and then he just goes out and does what he does. And the performance he put on today was just second to none.
And he gets to celebrate with his team. And for us, we get to check it out one more time tomorrow. We get Steel Commander Superbike Racing 2. You better join us. For Jason Hannah, I'm Greg. See you then.